Need to respond to South Grove and Mill Street to establish a perimeter.
An incomprehensible tragedy.
Beautiful, innocent, second, third, fourth graders.
Children gunned down at an elementary school in Texas.
Just confused and worried. I'm trying to find out where my baby's at.
Tonight, a nation once again mourning and asking why.
Why are we willing to live with this carnage? Why do we keep letting this happen?
Tonight, we're taking an in-depth look at what's being done to keep Coloradans safe.
What we've learned again and again is when someone makes a threat that they're going to go in to a school and shoot people, we can't ignore it.
Blindsided by her landlord, a woman displaced by the Marshall Fire finds out she'll have to find a new home.
Thought I was going to be here for a long time.
Tonight, she's fighting just to get an explanation.
Just kind of twists the knife at the end. And it just feels very personal.
Tonight, flags have been lowered at the Colorado State Capitol and all over the country to honor the lives taken today at a Texas elementary school.
Our nation once again finds itself in familiar, sickening grief after 21 people, 19 of them sweet, young, innocent children, are shot to death in what should have been a safe place.
And tonight, we're just beginning to learn the names of the victims. ABC News confirmed 10-year-old Javier Lopez was killed, as was fourth grade teacher Eva Morales. Now, we'll share all the names with you as we learn them. Also at this hour, there are more than a dozen victims being treated in hospitals.
The tragedy unfolded midday in Uvalde, Texas, a small community west of San Antonio. Investigators say the gunman first shot his grandmother, drove away, and then crashed his truck in a ditch outside Robb Elementary.
According to our affiliate in Houston, the gunman had an AR-15 style rifle, numerous magazines, and was wearing body armor. And as he approached the school, a school resource officer engaged the suspect, and the suspect shot him.
And the shootings took place as soon as the 18-year-old entered the school, and all the victims were told died in the same location inside that school. When law enforcement arrived, they say he was barricaded inside and fired on the officers. The AP is reporting that a Border Patrol agent working nearby rushed to the school and killed the gunman.
And speaking from the White House tonight, President Biden fought back tears as he called on Americans to demand common sense gun legislation.
As a nation, we have to ask, when in God's name are we going to stand up to the gun lobby? When in God's name we do what we all know in our gut needs to be done?
Authorities have identified the gunman as 18-year-old student at Uvalde High School. Now, we have chosen not to say his name during this newscast. Investigators have announced no motive, but say he acted alone.
So from Columbine to Aurora to Boulder, Colorado is no stranger to the horrors of mass shootings.
Because of that, the state has now taken steps to hopefully prevent these tragedies. And tonight, Denver 7's CB Cotton takes a closer look at what's being done to keep us safe.
It's happened again. This time in Uvalde, Texas, where innocent children were killed at their elementary school.
Oftentimes when there's one shooting, then it does incite others who were considering it to go ahead and attack.
Mass shootings happen so often, there are now people like Dr. Rachel Nielsen who study targeted violence and try to stop it before it starts.
I think everyone needs some level of awareness around the pathway to violence. How do you know when someone is moving towards potentially hurting others?
Thanks to federal grant money, she and other experts have been teaching first responders, teachers, and mental health providers in the state about the warning signs that someone is on the cusp of harming their community.
Awareness among everyone, competency among professionals about how to deal with these issues. When you see warning signs, when you do need to involve someone beyond yourself, then basically you build a system that is sustainable.
So far, Nielsen and her team at Nicoletti Flater Associates in Lakewood have seen good results. Attorney General Phil Weiser sees it that way too.
Because of what we've gone through in Colorado, not with just one school shooting at Columbine, but other ones, recently the STEM school, we've had to adapt. We've had to create a culture around school safety. We've had to create early warning systems. Because of those systems, we are safer in Colorado.
Attorney General Weiser urges people to use Safe to Tell, a state program for students, parents, and community members to report threats or concerns anonymously. Colorado also has a red flag law. Passed in 2019, it allows people to ask the court to temporarily take away a person's firearms if there is a significant risk that the person could hurt themselves or others. From 2020 through October of last year, nearly 200 requests were granted. And just today, Attorney General Phil Weiser was at Golden High School speaking with students and staff about a program the school has launched that encourages students to seek out mental health resources. Weiser says his office will continue to encourage this kind of programming and hopes it can prevent violence before it starts. In the newsroom, I'm CB Cotton, Denver 7.
All right, CB. And too many people right here in our community have lived through similar tragedies. And for some of them, today's events likely have them reliving their own trauma. And the Boulder Strong Resource Center opened after the King Super shooting in Boulder last year. We talked to the center's manager, who says the first step toward healing is to acknowledge those feelings of grief.
We always want to validate whatever someone is feeling is completely normal. So with any kind of tragedy like this, we see a wide variety of emotions. It can be anger, sadness, despair, even feeling numb or nothing is also normal. So just letting someone know that no matter where they are, what they're feeling, it's completely normal.
And the center offers a variety of resources to help, so check them out at weareBoulderStrong.org. And regardless of whether you have personally experienced such tragedy, loss like we saw today is hard on all of us. So if you need someone to talk to, which we all sometimes do, you can always call the Colorado Crisis Services number at 844-493-8255.
And a tragedy like the one in Texas can put things like sports into perspective. Before tonight's NBA playoff game, Golden State Warriors coach Steve Kerr refused to talk basketball. Instead, he called on lawmakers to take action on our nation's gun crisis.
When are we going to do something? I'm tired. I'm so tired of getting up here and offering condolences to the devastated families that are out there. I'm so tired of the, I'm sorry. I'm tired of the moments of silence. Enough.
Yeah, we are tired. And coverage of the situation in Texas continues online at thedenverchannel.com. And our Denver 7 morning team will also bring you any developments overnight, beginning at 4:30 a.m.
Pre-evacuation orders are now in place for a new wildfire near Durango. Officials say the Parents Peak fire is 100 acres and burning on BLM land. Smoke plumes can be seen from downtown Durango. So 4 air tankers now have been brought in to help fight the flames. So she thought it was a miracle to see her own home standing after the Marshall fire. But now she's learning she won't be moving back in after all.
After months of paying double rent and working to restore her townhome, a Superior woman was shocked to find out that her lease is being terminated with no explanation given. Denver 7's Rob Harris shares her story.
I've been saying since the beginning, oh, I can't wait to get back to the house. I'm so excited to get back to the house.
It's been almost 5 months since Trish Zornio had to evacuate this townhome on a moment's notice.
If you looked this way, it was blue sky. And if you went right outside and looked this way, it was very much not blue sky, and you could see the flames coming up and over really quick. It was very stressful.
In the month since the Marshall fire, Zornio has been renting a temporary home in Boulder, but she's continued to pay both rent and utilities at this townhome she's lived in for years, even though the soot and the smoke made it uninhabitable.
Even last week, I was helping still with the restoration, helping let people in, answering questions from the cleaners, going through all this process.
Zornio says her initial requests for rent reimbursement from her management company were denied, despite the condition of the townhome and the lag in progress in restoration.
There has been zero talk while I was paying rent during the entire time of restoration. They kept saying, you know, we'll get on it, we'll get on it, we'll get on it. No, we won't reimburse.
In April, Zornio sent a letter that she drafted with an attorney, citing Colorado's warrant of habitability law, which says landlords can't charge rent for a home that's unsafe to live in. She got a response saying with proper documentation she could now be reimbursed, but there was an extra line in the email she overlooked.
This letter shall also serve as a 30-day notice to terminate the lease. It was so out of the blue. There had been zero conversation of possibly terminating a lease. I've been here for years, never had any issues, always pay on time, continued to pay when it was uninhabitable.
With the cleanup process now complete, Zornio was scheduled to begin moving back into her home today. Now she's unsure where she'll be living when her lease ends in just a few weeks, 5 months after the Marshall fire.
I am losing my house because of it, even though it didn't burn. And even though it's been fully restored and is lovely again.
We reached out to the Summit of Rock Creek HOA, which owns the townhome that Zornio has been leasing. They say this is a misunderstanding and that they decided not to continue Zornio's lease because they were unable to satisfy her environmental concerns. They also say that after insurance funds became available in April, the association covered rent and utility expenses for that time period. However, Zornio says that's false, and she sent us these screenshots of receipts showing rent payments each month. Now, I reached back out to the HOA about that, and they now say they intend to reimburse her once they receive receipts for her utility expenses. In Superior, Rob Harris, Denver 7.
Aurora police tonight are investigating an attempted kidnapping. Police say a man tried to kidnap two 12-year-old girls last Wednesday evening near Centerpoint Park. The suspect, they say, put one of the girls in a bear hug. She was able to escape when bystanders intervened. Police are looking for the suspect, and tips can be made to the Metro Denver Crime Stoppers.
The State Board of Education approved an order today that starts the reorganization process for the Adams 14 school district. This decision comes after nearly a decade of low performance.
The state review panel concluded that there simply was not the management capability in the district to effectively combat the history of failing scores. And there is a long history of failing scores.
Now, the first step is to create a school organization planning committee made up of members from surrounding school districts. They're tasked with exploring all the different options for Adams 14. And their first meeting would have to be within 30 days. The order also officially removes the accreditation for Adams 14 and approves making the new teacher project a partial manager for the district. The state says this will be a long process and they will be asking for plenty of public feedback.
Well, tomorrow will mark 2 years since the murder of George Floyd at the hands of Minneapolis police. Video, of course, of that arrest sent shockwaves around the world, igniting protests demanding justice and police reform. And on the anniversary of Floyd's death, President Biden will sign an executive order requiring federal law enforcement agencies to review and revise use of force policies. The order will also restrict the flow of surplus military equipment to local police departments and encourage limitations on chokeholds and no-knock warrants by attaching strings to federal funding.
Say goodbye to these numbers. We have some beautiful 70s and 80s coming up.
As thousands get ready to rock the block, up next, we go slip sliding away into Boulder Boulder.
I think just being part of the community, that's the best part of it. It's awesome.
Plus, an Olympic speed skater goes faster than ever before.